Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome to another episode of Allegedly Incredible. All right, guys, this is going to be the last episode of the season. And as you know, Father's Day is coming up this weekend. So we wanted to ask a question that, kind of controversial, I guess.
I mean, it shouldn't be, but,
I guess it kind of is.
2020 now. I mean,
2022.
See?
And the question is, do dads still matter in children's lives? And actually, yeah. So, as always, we give this disclaimer before the beginning of every episode. This is a show where we give our thoughts and opinions based on what we've actually dealt with in our personal lives. And we give advice. And if you like it, you don't have to.
If you like it, then you
keep it. If you don't like it, you can get rid of it. Our thoughts and views are always changing, and we're not experts, nor do we claim to be. So here we go. We have a special guest on right now. We have a special guest. This is a special look at Mel. She's so cute. This is...
Y'all never guess who we have on the show today, guys.
This is Mel's husband and my BFF,
Taryn Douglas. Yay! He did it!
and guys, just so you know, he's very shy of being on person. Well, he's not really shy.
No, he just doesn't like taking videos of
I
himself.
don't like videos. I don't like being on, recordings and stuff. My voice is weird, but
we love his voice, though.
Yeah.
We love his voice.
We work with it.
He's gonna get super offers, can I need you on the radio tonight?
Gaslighting.
So let us dive into the topic. Okay, so like I said, do dads still matter in children's lives? First of all, did you guys grow up with your dads in the picture?
Of course. Well,
Yeah.
not of course. Yeah, I definitely gave up had a dad in the house.
Yeah, I definitely did. Do you feel like you guys have a strong relationship with your dads?
I feel like I have an incredible relationship with my pops. And from the outside, it probably look like, they don't really say much. They don't really see each other. But it's just one of those things where you see each other. Everything's all good. And it's just a nice, actually recently within the last 3 months, me and Mel and the kids have set up something with my parents every Sunday, which Danielle even came to a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Every Sunday we kind of have a little brunch or midday meal.
Get together.
Yeah, after church and everything.
It's a weekly visit that we just chop it up with the parents.
It's so nice. It's so cute. It's so sweet. I'm honored that they let me be a part of it. But what about you, Mel?
I could have a better relationship with my dad. I would definitely will say that I have father issues.
No?
but I'm not saying that we're estranged or anything. It's just that we could be closer, and I think that we could hear each other better and respect each other better.
Right.
Yeah.
I love my daddy.
I love my dad too.
Papa
love
Brandon.
My daddy. I am a daddy's girl. I swear to goodness, you say anything bad about my daddy, I'm fighting. I'm about to cut you and everything. I love my dad. He is my best friend. He was the first male friend I ever had. And we rock and we roll and we still hang out. I talk to my dad every day. He don't listen. But I talk to my dad every day. I love my dad. I could not picture my life without him.
Great.
So that goes on to my next thought. Do you think that dads get a bad rap out here? Do you think that they don't get as much credit as moms do?
Well, I want to just jump in there. Some dads ain't shit.
Yeah,
And
I can agree with that.
They're the ones that are making it bad for the good fathers out here being present with their kids and showing up and doing the work. That's all I gotta say.
All right. What about you as a dad, Taryn? Do you feel like dads get a bad rap?
I think they do get a bad rap, but not in a way that, it probably is in a way that people consider it. I just never took it in that way. But I think men get a bad rap because their presence isn't really acknowledged. Even if they are present, even if they want to be present, there's no need to have the present because they can be substituted.
Mhm.
Now, I feel like as long as you have a male presence, whether it be a grandfather or an uncle or some type of male friend for the mother, that is, as long as their presence is in that child's life, they feel that they more than made up for the biological father's
Mhm.
uh, lack of presence. You know,
Right, right.
so I think we're easily substituted and easily replaced. And I mean, under certain circumstances, that can be used, but I don't think that should be the automatic go to or be conditioned into any people's mind to say like that's how it should be.
Right,
You
right.
know?
I'm I mean, I'm of a strong belief just because I guess like I said, I grew up with my dad. I grew up with my father and I just I'm single currently right now and I've had people say to me like, "Well, you don't necessarily need to have a father in your child's life. You can go get a sperm donor or whatever at X, Y, and Z." And I'm not going to say I haven't thought about those options. I've thought about adopting. I've thought about lot of different things because I do want a child,
Mhm.
maybe two. We'll see.
Mhm.
But I personally can't picture raising a child without a father in their life and not having that father be important because of how important my dad was to me.
Yeah.
And then I also think about some of the people who I know who have serious daddy issues or their dad wasn't in the picture or something like that. And I'm not saying that the people who raised them didn't do amazing jobs. They did the best that they could, but I'm pretty sure that if those people had the option to have their dad like a close relationship with their dad, if their dad did not like leave or abandon them or in some type of way, that they definitely would have preferred to have their dad there 100%.
Mhm.
So that's why for me personally, I don't think I could bring a child into this world without having a father there for them because I know how important my dad was for me. Like he taught me things that my mom couldn't teach me. Um or like my dad taught me how to change a tire. Um my dad taught me how to change the oil. Like my dad taught me how to fix certain things in the house. And I'm not saying that there are women out there that know how to do that, but most of I only know how to do that because of my dad teaching me how to do
I was gonna
that.
say the same thing. A lot of the things that I know being on the self sufficient side, I got a lot from my dad, and I would never not give him his credit for that. I still call him today for things that I need help with, and sometimes I even call him just for that validation. Because even though we might not have the best or the strongest relationship, the fact that we have a relationship at all, I'm grateful for. And sometimes you just need your dad.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was just talking to one of my our female friends the other day, and she was just talking about how much she realized that her not having a great relationship with her dad or her dad being around really affected the men she ended up choosing or going after, and that's why I'm like, to me, it's just important to have your dad around. I'm not going to say that like I said, they're like you said before, some fathers they don't step up to the plate and everything like that. But there are single dads out there that are killing it every day, and I don't feel like they don't get as much credit or like applause as the single mothers. Or there are dads out there who might not even be with the mother of their children, but they make it a point to be there and make sure they are supplying and taking care of their kids.
Hmm.
So that's the only thing that I think about like when it comes to a father being there. I just think it's important. I think I don't know, Taryn, what are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts is I feel like usually it comes to a point of contention when people feel like one does more than the other, one does less, or one. What we have to just acknowledge our place and in the situation, and as a whole, what we contribute to make a whole. And I feel like that's what bothers me because as soon as you start bringing up Father's Day, there's like there was a point in time where single mothers was like you might as well call it that Father's Day.
Hmm.
They might have a point there because they might have had a terrible relationship with their partner who they had a kid with, and then they did all the legwork with the child, and then you're going to honor the child's biological father. Wouldn't that doesn't make sense to them, So, but that it's not to degrade your contribution. It's just to shed light, on another.
Mhm.
You know, I feel. Well, no, I'm not going to share my feelings. You can't share feelings. You're going to share thoughts. So I'm going to share my thoughts on it. My thoughts are that we should only acknowledge our presence and our part, and that's probably where I'm going to take my conversation, or at least my piece of the conversation too, because I don't want to degrade or put anybody down, but I just want to show that a man's present, aside from societal tasks and titles and whatever they put on the man's presence, just the natural order of things. And when you put it into perspective, like, oh man, this is why a man is in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to go against any other partnerships that may come apart, but this is just how it's built biologically.
Right. I understand that. So here we go. So you said at one point you wanted to be, if you had the opportunity, you wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. Why is that? Why do you think you want to be a stay-at-home dad?
It's not realistic, right? It's not realistic. But if I had a choice and I had time to just spend with, taking care of what I need around the house and then raising the kids, like, it would be better for my mental. If I got paid to take care of my kids, not saying I need to get paid to take care of my kids, but that would be nice to be like, all right, I'm taking care of kids, and then I can still pay for the mortgage, still all that stuff. That would be a nice deal, because I'm doing what I love. But I'm working 9 to 5 and then I come home and then I'm like, oh, daddy this, daddy that, I'm tired. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't gonna have that 100% like interaction rate with my kids. Well, not the ideal one anyway. So it's that I feel like I would have the best dad brain if I can interact with my children 100% successfully if I just was around them in the capacity that I would like to be around them.
So for people that are like, man, he wants to be a stay-at-home dad, like that's kind of like stupid. Like that's
Right.
not what men are supposed to do. What would you say to that?
I mean, I hear their opinions. They're more than welcome to feel the way you feel, because there's probably a lot of societal pressure put on you to make you come to that conclusion. But at the end of the day, if you really like, I know my oldest brother, Leroy. Shouts out to him. He got 5 kids. He would do the same. I mean, I'm not saying that he wouldn't work to provide for his family, because that's what he does,
Right.
but he is overly involved with his children to the point where he probably annoys them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I like that about him.
Right.
And
Right.
I think that I seen men find the joy in being around their children and interacting with their children is like a beautiful thing.
Right.
No matter how annoying, because I'm gonna stay on topic, but I'm gonna go off topic.
Okay.
People complain about their children, right?
Right.
That's
Right.
not a bad thing, though. That's human relationships. You got people that complain about their wife, their girlfriends, their best friends. You got women
That's true.
complain about their husbands, their best friends. That don't mean they don't love them less. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
right.
that's
So
my
much they
thing.
do love them.
Right. Because that's a natural. Oh, he's like, oh, you've been around your kids. You can say all the wonderful rainbows. Right. You can say all the beautiful things about your children, but at the end of the day, when they pooped on themselves, and that annoyed you, like, you too old and you too smelly to be pooping on yourself. Like, that's some real stuff. Right.
Baby, infant, no.
You annoyed. It's like,
You a grown ass man.
man, you want to eat again? You just ate 3 hours ago. Like, stuff like that. That annoys you, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to be there yourself.
Right. And when you were talking about like how Leroy is like overly present, like we have a lot of people in our friend circle. Like shout out to your boy Lara.
Yeah.
Yo, that man love his kids and his family. I ain't never seen him. Zoe.
Right. And I feel like I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't know what it is, but I love seeing dads with their kids. I love it when they're in the park running around doing stuff like that, playing imagination with them, all that stuff. I love seeing dad with their kids. And I definitely love seeing like when dads with their little girls. I don't know if it's just me, if that's just a soft spot, but when I see Taryn with his daughters, I be like
piled up on him.
Oh, like that is so cute. And like even when I see my brother with his kids, like they love him. And when I see, I don't know, I just love seeing dads with their daughters, and I like in their sons, and just doing stuff with them, and like I don't know how to put it to me. I feel like it just feels so good. Like I don't know. It just feels so.
It's so wholesome, especially in our community, being melanated people. You don't really like. Everybody's trying to make the joke of like, "Oh, did your dad go out to get the milk again? Is he gonna come back?" Like,
yeah, and I feel like some people are like, well, why are you giving dads credit for like
the
stuff they're
minimum.
supposed to be doing, the bare minimum? Well, everybody could say that about moms too. Like there are moms out there that like, okay, I fed my child today, I did X, Y, and Z, that's enough, and that's technically the bare minimum. Some people are like, well, you're supposed to do this with your child. You're supposed to do that. And that goes both ways. So it's just like, I feel like when we see a father actually out there taking the time out to take care of his kids, taking the time out to make sure his kids have everything, you should definitely want that for your child. And I don't care if you're with that partner or not, like if the person's making an effort to do it. Because I also feel like I see some women who like, I guess in my head, they try to punish the father for, I guess, seeing somebody else or whatever, and that affects the relationship that they have with their kids. And I don't feel like that's necessarily,
bait.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily fair. But like I said, like I don't want to make it sound like, I'm saying that that's the case for all single mothers and all single parents, because that's not necessarily the case. But I feel like if you're a dad and you have a child, definitely step up to the plate, because I feel like that joke is going to be so rewarding at the end, like especially when you're like establishing that relationship with your child. Like there's just some things that I couldn't talk about things with my mother that I could talk about with my dad. Like, or there are some things I went on the most adventures with my dad. Okay. Like my dad was so silly, and most of the music stuff that I learned from my dad. Like I used to read to my dad every night. My dad came home late too. We would come home late, and like my love for reading came from my dad. Like he just made it a point, no matter how late it was, how tired he was, he just took the time out to spend time with us. And then sometimes when we got on my mom's last nerve, that was when dad came in and he stepped in and he's like, okay, let's give your mom a break. And that, I felt like seeing them as a team, I'm not going to say they were perfect, but seeing them as a team and seeing them how they navigated things, I think that made my life easier. I couldn't imagine my mom being a single mom, especially dealing with us or dealing with me or anything like that. I feel like my dad definitely was able to calm my mom down a lot. My dad was definitely able to see our side of things and also explain stuff to us that we weren't understanding about our mom.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I feel like dads are just very important.
Dads are very essential because, yes, like they can explain things better. Because if being a mom, we're already in our heads, like moving 120 miles per hour. And then for me to have to sit there and explain to you why I need you to go upstairs and change and wash your funky butt, I'm not gonna be patient with you. So having the dad there is great to go and explain things to kids. And it's nice to have a little extra muscle. My voice can't get enough bass.
Right. And in the like the societal way, I just was thinking about it. It's just nice to have someone pick up, not only pick up the sack or but the slack, but offer another side.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mhm.
know, if you have the more serious parent, you have another parent that offers the sillier side. Because usually when it comes to pairing, the opposites attract anyway, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So if you raise in like a household where the mom's always serious, you're gonna need the goofy dad to kind of dilute and keep the kid a kid,
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and if, vice versa. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just important as a parent dynamic, whether you're a man or not. But I think what the the man offers is a little bit of, you know, now I was talking about the biological nature thing, if a lion roars or a dog barks, that pup or that cub is gonna shape up real
Mhm.
quick
Mhm.
versus the mom just always kind of growls like what you doing and like poking you and he's like, oh, all right, I get it, I know I'm doing wrong, but I'm just gonna let me just do this anyway. And he's like, hey, and then they're like, oh, all right, I get it.
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you right now. The scariest moment. My mom. So I'm not gonna say that we weren't like scared of my mom. I think there were some things we didn't ask my mom for certain things, but we knew we messed up. It's like you knew you messed up when dad came in and started yelling because
Mhm.
that's like, oh man, we got to actually correct ourselves. Because I think at some point you're just like, oh, that's just mom being mom. Like she's
Mom
just
always
doing
complaining about some
something,
stupid
da 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 da.
stuff.
And then when dad came in and he started yelling, you be like, oh wow,
Oh snap!
we got to straighten up
I'm so
because.
sorry, sir.
So like that thing where it's like wait till your father gets home, wait till your father gets home, like that kind of thing.
Like I remember what your mom used to tell us, like what happened with your
Yeah,
grandfather.
yeah, pop
Like
up.
if they that was how many kids did she have?
5,
5 kids, and it didn't matter who did it. But
4.
all Big Mom had to say was, "Wait till your father get home. He come home. Don't matter what nobody said. Everybody getting beat on site. I don't know what you did, but your mom said, pa, 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 pa."
Before y'all start trying to cancel on my pop pop, you spare the rod, you spoil the child.
That's
So
a fact.
just remember that.
And also, like, we were raised in different
Facts.
times. I think, like, now
Right.
we know. We were raised in different times, so there are, like, new, like, effective ways that people didn't know how to do it before. But I think
Yeah.
that everybody does everything the best they can at that moment. So that's all
Right.
I got to say about that. It's all learning. Like, you move on from that. But
Mhm.
I also wanted to say, like, what about the the dads that step in, like for some of the people who are single mothers and stuff, you had kids already, but then there's a dad that stepped in and ended up raising your kid, and they did everything that they were supposed to do. That kid didn't miss anything because that man stepped in and like raised them as if they're your own, provided for them as if your own. Like I have to give huge shout outs to my grandfather on my dad's side. He's my grandfather as far as I'm concerned. I never even knew. I'm telling you, like, it wasn't until I was way older that I found out that that was like my dad's stepfather. I had no clue. I thought that was his actual dad because he came over every Saturday and made us breakfast. And I had a great relationship with him and I had no clue. And I remember someday I was talking to my dad about it and he told me, yeah, that when he explained to me it was stepfather and everything. And like I said, I was in shock because I wouldn't have known. But the thing that really, really got me was my dad said to me, he was the model for how I knew I wanted to be with you guys. He was the model for who I knew like I wanted to raise you guys. Like I knew because he was there for me, I knew what it meant to be a father. So I think that people who actually step up to raise kids that aren't their own as well, men that do that's a big thing because I've heard so many people, like especially guys, mainly guys, like I'm not raising somebody else's kid. I've heard that, and I think that that takes a lot for a guy to step in.
Yeah, it does take a lot because that's not even your genes, but you're providing for them as if they are. It's like thinking about it in a biological sense. So biologically, the we're supposed to, or the man is supposed to spread their genes through lifetimes. And if you're promoting somebody else's genes, like, isn't that interesting? That would take more out of yourself. Like, you know what? Even though you're not mine, I'm going to wish you, and I'm going to wish you the best, and I'm going to help you along your journey so you can go and do the next thing for your next generation, your next generation. You know?
Right. I mean, it's definitely a noble effort, and they deserve just as much on Father's Day as any other man, especially if they stepped up to the plate and picked to do so. And this is a father's episode, so therefore they should get their flowers. Um, I mean, tactically for a man, as for a man in a relationship, I don't think it's ideal, but for a man's presence in a child's life, that is completely ideal. That's just like the father that stepped to the plate, like the grandfather stepping in, or the uncle that steps in, or the any type of male presence that decides to step in and help raise the child, because that's being part of the community and raising the child. So I applaud them for that. But just on a personal level, in a relationship, man woman, that's just like but it's a different. That would be a different topic. So I don't bring anything. But
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's a noble
I get
noble
that. I
thing,
get
noble
that.
effort on the
Yeah, I
father's
get
side.
that. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna see if I have it. So, oh, this is a good question. What's your favorite thing about being a dad? What's your favorite thing?
I want to hear this.
Yeah, right. My favorite thing is just seeing them grow. And I'm telling you, I'm a very analytical person when it comes down to it. Like, whether I agree with something, whether I look at everything from a neutral standpoint. Now, emotionally, I'm not very neutral. You can tell when I'm angry, and you can tell when I'm happy. I wear my emotions on my sleeve, but I like observing people growth from the outside, and I ask a lot of questions. Even if you're like, man, that's a 3-year-old child, how you gonna ask her that question? How you gonna phrase the question that way, or come and state all this stuff as if she understands? And more times than not, she does understand.
Yeah, she does.
And
She's a smart cookie.
it's kind of wild, but I think you should give children a lot more credit than they deserve, because at this point in their life, they're actually a lot smarter than we. This is their time to pick up stuff. So talking to them that way, I'm not saying curse them out and stuff, and I am guilty of stuff like that, but don't curse them out and stuff. But like, to have regular conversation and have them have a back and forth, they're going to be sponges and picking it up. Like, oh, okay, that's how I would answer that question. This is the time to do it. But I think that the fun part of it is just watching the complete growth. Watching my 3-year-old daughter go from non-talking babbler and eating everything to coherent talking. Oh, Kaiser loves me. Every other morning. I'm like, what? What? Why do you care if this little dude loves you? Like, I don't give. I don't care. Like, what? I had years. I thought I had years down the road to be thinking about that. I'm like, why are you worried about Kaiser? Like, nothing against him, but I'm like, why? Like, this is my thoughts on my daughter, like, at 3 years old, liking some kid that's 3 years old. Like, I'm like, what? But, it happens, so. But that's just part of the growth. Like, I wouldn't try to erase that part. I kind of like that, because now it gets my brain working. Like, what incentive does she have to like this kid? Like, and is that going to happen to Ro? Or is she going to have to be older to start thinking like, oh, boys are cute or whatever? Like, I didn't think about that.
Right.
I think for you, it's just, seeing how women like unfold into what they are when they're adults. Like this, granted, you had a sister, but now you're in control, or you have some part in the developmental stages. It's like you're literally growing this little lady.
Yeah. I mean, even in boys, because that Danielle spoke about her brother's kid, Gabe. I was like watching kids I was a kid saying I'm a Ninja Turtle, I'm a Thundercat, I'm a Power Ranger. Now hearing saying, oh, I'm Black
Fire
Panther,
Ranger.
I'm Spider Man Miles Morales or Spider Man Gabriel. I'm like,
I'm
that's
the
funny because like I'm
Black
like, did I
Panther.
lose that piece of me to be like, oh, like just
You
becoming
remember?
that other person, the
Yeah.
other persona to do stuff.
Right,
I thought
right.
that's still cool. So just the development in general, that's just cool with me. I just like watching it. Whether I, like I said, whether I get annoyed or whatever, take that as you will. That's probably my attitude for that day or that hour, but
Mhm.
I still love seeing it. And
Mhm.
I'm at this place. I know everybody tells me, oh, when they get to the point where they can talk, you're going to wish they didn't talk, or this is the best stage of their life.
No.
You don't love it. I said, I love it, but I want it to keep moving.
Yeah.
I don't
You
like.
don't want to stick in this.
I like
Like,
listening to songs on repeat, but there's a certain point where I was like, okay,
Okay, next
next
song.
song,
Let's go on
I'm
this
good. I'm
song.
good. I'll listen to it. I'll look at videos if I want to miss it.
right.
Memories are locked in
Oh,
the
I'm
vault.
really good with documenting these stages.
this is a question for you. This is a good question because would you ever like dress up with your daughter? Like, let's say there was like, let's say she wanted to have a tea party and she was like,
Oh,
hey, let's wear hats and
she
let's do this.
he
And
did that.
Daddy, let me put bracelets on you and stuff. Would that be a problem for you?
See, if you talk to me now, I'm like, nah, I ain't gonna do that. But then when I'm in the moment, they got pictures. We were at my boy Lara's house for his daughter's third birthday, and he had like princess tiara and like the scepter and all that stuff. And I went around running around with that the damn tiara on my head. So I ain't gonna sit here and lie and say I wouldn't do it. I just can't think about it. Like, oh, you putting my masculinity. Yeah, like at the point in time, sometimes I be just doing the goofiest stuff just for a laugh, just to
Oh,
lighten the
make a
mood.
story.
Yeah, I love making a story. So, but if you ask my you ask my conscious brain, oh, I ain't gonna do that. What are they gonna think? Like, I don't know. But nah, in the moment, I'm a different person. So I'm like, oh, in the moment, oh yeah, I'll do it. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. My dad did. I want to say my dad did tea parties and stuff with me. I don't think that made him any less masculine or anything like
No,
that.
it's
He,
actually more masculine.
yeah,
You're comfortable with yourself.
yeah, he used to play with my dolls and used to do voices on them and stuff like that too. Whatever. My dad never had a problem playing with me. I don't think there was ever a time where he was just like, no, like men don't do that. Whatever. I don't think there was ever a time he did that. So I
Well,
mean.
your dad did tell you like, what. Well, I can only assume because my dad told me like what men do and what men don't. But he still played with me, and he still, I guess, made it evident of like masculine and feminine like difference,
Well,
or like
yeah.
gender roles too,
I
in a
mean,
sense.
yeah. I guess that. I
Hmm.
mean, there were things that were like, okay, well, certain things about like being more ladylike, and
Yeah.
certain things that. I mean, there were times. I'll put it this way. I think he definitely let my mom handle the lady stuff. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense.
nah, I get that. Yeah.
Anything that had to do with like, you know, female stuff, like even now to this day, like if you were to ask my dad to go get pads for somebody, he'd be like, oh, you need me to go get some popsicles? Because he like that, he ain't told that. Or if we're talking, if me and my mom are talking about some female problems, he'd be like, I told he'd be like tunes completely out or he leaves the room. I mean, I guess that's just he always left that to my mom, and then like he dealt with stuff with my brothers. I think more than he had conversations with my brothers that he might not have had with me. But at the same time, I want to say they also treated us equal. It's like weird, like they treated us very equal at the same time. It wasn't like my parents let us know what happens with each body.
Yeah.
Like I did get talked about like how men's body works, and my brothers got talked about how females' body works. So we weren't like completely clueless about stuff. But at the same time, it was like, and I don't feel like my parents had a double standard either. It was just like a standard of what they expected of us. Now, my dad never said like, oh, you can't date until you're 30 or something like that. He wasn't like that. But at the same time, I think he was a little bit more protective of me
Yeah.
when it came to dating versus my brothers. And I don't think for me personally, I don't think it was the double standard fact of that. I think it was just like, I'm his baby girl, I'm his baby. So I think that's what it was more than anything else. My mom was very more, when it came to like who my brothers dated, my mom was more like, those are my boys, So I think that's it. We got it just from different parents,
Yeah.
Right. And I was going to say, well, one, because really the opposite sex doesn't really have a horse in the race.
Right.
So you can only tell textbook knowledge versus applied knowledge. You know what I mean? I don't know nothing about periods, but I read in a textbook what the technical terms are.
Right.
I'll get you pads, but as Mel know, I'll get you overnight or mature or whatever pads.
He'll give you ask for pads, you better be specific because he will give you poise pads for bladder leaks instead of menstrual leaks. I'm like, what are you trying to say, bro?
I'm trying to get you pads, and it was a better price than what I seen the other one. I didn't think it made a difference, to be honest with you.
And that's the thing. And I'm gonna say this. This is the other thing I want to say to you right now. This is another reason why, I definitely see a male in my life because, if I have a son, I don't know everything that happens with a male body.
Right.
I've never been a male, so how am I going to tell somebody like I can, like I said, I can read the textbook thing, but I don't know how to feel that. That's like, I'm going to talk, if I'm going to get pregnant or I'm about to be pregnant, I'm going to talk to somebody who I know has been pregnant, has dealt with the situation, whatever. Right. So it's just like, as a female, not that I can't teach my son about like his body like that, but I don't know. I'm never going to know what it's going to feel like to be a male. And vice versa, I feel like. So that's why I'm just like, there are some things that as a woman, I don't feel like I can teach my son. And like I said, you can have male influences or whatever, but I just feel like there's just a certain thing of having an actual male or father figure, like actual dad in the house, raising the kids, helping you raise the kids, which goes me to my next question is for you, Mel. How does Taryn being with you make a difference in you, like, raising a kid? Like, how do you feel like he helps you out?
I'll tell you what, if he wasn't here, we weren't going to have any kids. I told the only
scientifically
way,
that's fair.
I'm saying the only way that I was going to accept having kids, I was like, you have to be here 100% because I'm not doing this by myself. Not saying that I can't. I'm just saying I don't want to. And because of that, it has been, like, I can't stress enough. Like, it's just essential. Like, I couldn't imagine if something were to happen to Taryn and he's not there anymore. Like, I don't want to. I don't even want to go down that road.
Like, me personally, I feel like Taryn is the one who brings structure into your home. Because I feel like if Taryn was not there, y'all be all over the place. I'm not even trying to be funny.
We literally would be all over the place. Like, I probably wouldn't either. It'd be one of two ways. Either we would literally everywhere at the same time, or we just wouldn't go anywhere. Like, because I would be so drained and just like, somebody take these kids. Yeah.
I feel like definitely he brings this structure. I also feel like, I'm not saying that both of you don't discipline, but he's definitely more of the disciplinarian. Like,
which is funny because when I was pregnant with the first one, everybody's like, I see Mel being the disciplinarian because Taryn's like, I can't hit my kids. I can't, especially if it's a girl.
I can't yell at my girls. Oh yeah. Fast forward. That's why the present Taryn can't speak for the future Taryn. That's why I make that evident, because I'll say something.
You know what though? It's kind of like that with Rogue, because like as soon as soon as Ro does something that needs to be, requires some type of disciplinary action, he just starts dying laughing. I said, Ro's gonna break you one of these days.
She reminded me of myself. She be just trying people. Like when she tried Danielle, this is a quick story. I don't want to mess something up, but she does this thing where she rakes her fingernails across people's faces.
Razor sharp nails.
And all types of people tell her to stop or whatever. They're just like, oh my god, and then they look to us to discipline her. Well, I laugh, so it doesn't even say, I don't say it seriously enough. And Mel gets upset, but it just doesn't last.
It's too frequent,
right? So she just like whatever. Well, Danielle wasn't gonna have it, so she got raked across her face. But it's the fact that every time Danielle disciplined her initially with a soft voice or a firm voice, and then to a yelling thing, she just kept doing it. But when it got to the point that Danielle raised her voice and it's like, we don't do that, she was just like, uh-oh, what's this feeling? And she just started crying. Yeah. I just thought it was funny. And that, to me, that reminds me of myself, because I'm going to keep trying you until you really punch me in my nose and make it bleed.
But you know what's funny, though? The funniest part about that was when he did that, she was like, when she did that, I was like, oh, wait, he asked, did she smile? I said, no, she didn't. She actually did pout, and then she went back and she did it again. And then when I did it again, it was like she tested it, like to see, like, well, usually somebody laughs at this, or usually they let me keep doing it. And when I was like, no, we ain't doing this,
right?
She stopped, because then she went to do it to you, and when she went to do it to you, she like thought about it, and then she went back to
her calming
anyway
mechanism.
You know what, though? This is such a good episode, but we're going to have to end this. Because we could talk forever. Go ahead. Ask the question.
For people that say that they want to be a single parent on purpose, what do you have to say to them?
To the people that want to be a single parent on purpose, I'm be echoing some things that Kevin Samuels or Jordan Peterson have said, but it's more selfish for selfish reasons. Right. It's not for the kid's best interest, because there's too many statistical studies that show that 2-parent homes produce a more stable child. Mm-hmm. We're not speaking about outliers and, a family friend or a cousin, or a friend of a friend that has a successful thing when they didn't have a parent, 2-parent household, or the ones who just were dropouts and deadbeats when they had a 2-parent. But we're talking about statistically who follow the correlation line on the stat chart nicely. That's what the better outcome is. So I would say that when you're doing that, you're doing it for selfish reasons, and hopefully you just have a game plan that's on point, and you're going to write the script for your child, and they're not going to hate you for doing so.
Yep. I agree with that. I strongly believe, like, I just couldn't do it. I mean, if that floats your boat, whatever, that's for you, but that's not for me. I can't do it. I have to have a partner in my life. I have to have, I want them to have their dad. I want them to have their dad there. Like, even if at some point, for whatever reason, I'm not putting this on myself or anything, but let's say I got married and everything and it just didn't work out and we end up going our separate ways, we're going to figure out a way to make it work. Right. We're going to figure it out, because that is so important. I think it's so detrimental. And I couldn't, if my dad wasn't here, I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be the person I am without both my parents being in the household. And I'm definitely going to say that. Yeah. On that note, I'm gonna end the episode. Let's do our 3 takeaways. First thing first, I'm gonna say dads are awesome. I mean, if dads are really, when your dad's really in your life, like my dad was, it is an awesome experience. Like my dad is my best friend. He really is. He really is. And also shout out to all the dads out there who do step up to the plate, who raise kids that aren't their own. Shout out to them. And shout out to all the single dads out there too who raise their kids, because that's not usually typically the norm. I don't know if these are really takeaways, but these are main shout outs. Yes. I'm gonna say these aren't takeaways, these are shout outs. Yes. Shout outs.
Shout out to my dad. I just want to wish you a happy Father's Day. And even though I didn't grow up in the way that you thought that you wanted me to be, I'm just glad that you were there, and I'm glad that you taught me everything that you did to make me the person I am. And I love you, and I can't stress that enough. You're awesome, Dad, and I'm glad that you stuck around through all this.
And shout out to Taryn, who's an awesome dad, in my opinion, and my brother. Shout out to my brother.
Shout out to Gary.
And Gary,
Shout out to
Papa Brandon too.
Who's also like the squad's dad. Shout out to Terrence's dad.
Shout out.
Papa Stain, Papa Doug.
And Sharon, what do you have? Do you have any like takeaways from this episode that you want to give people?
My takeaway is just I want to keep seeing the two-family home thrive and prosper and keep increasing, especially over these detrimental times, and not go back to traditions, because I know that's preached a lot. I don't think we should ever go back to anything, but we should always think about what works and adapt to the situation. And obviously for the last 40, 50 years, since I don't know when they start implementing the single mother household, that's been the trend, and we should just discontinue it now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it works.
Bring dads back.
Bring
Dad lives matter.
Yes. All right. And as always, we're going to ask the question. Oh, this is, like I said, this is the last episode of the season, so you can catch up on every episode at www.allegedlycredible.com. Our question is for you guys. How important... Well, actually, I'm just going to leave it as, do dads still matter? Do dads still matter? Like, let us know. What are your thoughts? Put them in the comments. Put them in. We know everybody has their own opinions, and we're ready for the heat. I am anyway. So put them in the comments. Let us know. And like I said, you can always follow us at www.allegedlycredible.com and at allegedlycredible. You can follow me personally at on Instagram at Creative Lady Faye. And also for my fitness journey, you can follow me at LadyFaye212.
You can follow me on Instagram under mellow_supremo. And you can find all my family pictures. You can find more of Taryn. He'll find those pictures eventually. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe on all popular podcast streaming
platforms. There we go. Yes, we're on YouTube, Spotify, everything. You can find us on Facebook.
Just look us
Instagram.
up. Just
look us up. You'll find us. You'll find us. And we will see you guys in the fall. All right. Peace out, guys. Have a wonderful summer.